The Alien and Sedition Acts are evil. They're evil corruption of the national government. And if you don't get rid of them, federal government, Virginia and Kentucky, we will nullify by ourselves these laws. We won't enforce them. We will nullify them. We'll get rid of them. So we are now reading about the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. And the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions are where the idea of nullification is created. Now, if you are in my class, you probably don't know what nullification is yet. But I'm telling you, we're going to be learning about nullification for a while. It is one of the main contributing reasons to the Civil War, especially from the perspective of the South. And these were the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions were political statements drafted in 1798 and 1799. So the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions were political statements written in 1798 and 1799, in which the Kentucky and Virginia legislatures, so state legislatures, took the position that the federal Alien and Sedition Acts were unconstitutional. This is very important. The resolutions argued that the states had the right and the duty to declare as unconstitutional those acts of Congress that were not authorized by the Constitution. So what they're saying is that, Supreme Court, that's their job. But the states can also do it. The states can also declare laws by the federal government unconstitutional. So if the Supreme Court does it, that's by the Constitution. And they are arguing that if the states do it, it's the same thing, just we're calling it nullification. In doing so, they argued for states' rights and strict constructionism of the Constitution. In other words, constructionism, see the little 4 right there? We'll scroll down to the bottom. Interpreting the Constitution based on the way it is literally written, word for word. That's what it means, nothing else. The Kentucky and Virginia resolutions of 1798 were written secretly by Vice President at the time, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, respectively. Because remember, the Alien and Sedition Acts were passed under John Adams' presidency. The principles stated in the resolutions became known as the Principles of 98, the ideas of 98. People who adhered to it or followed it, adherents argued that the states can judge the constitutionality of central government laws and decrees, just like the Supreme Court. The Kentucky resolutions of 1798 argued that each individual state has the power to declare that federal laws are unconstitutional and void, or empty. The Kentucky resolution of 1799 added that when the states determine that a law is unconstitutional, nullification by the states is the proper remedy. The Virginia resolutions of 1798 refer to interposition to express the idea that states have a right to interpose, to prevent harm caused by unconstitutional laws. They have an obligation to protect their people from harmful laws by the federal government. The Virginia resolutions contemplate, thinking about joint action by the states. Maybe the states can work together to the federal government. The resolutions had been controversial since their passage, eliciting or creating disapproval from 10 state legislatures. George Washington, at the time, was so appalled by them that he told Patrick Henry that if systematically and pertinaciously pursued, they would dissolve the Union or produce coercion. He's saying that if these resolutions are taken seriously, it could lead to civil war. Oh my goodness. Is George Washington a fortune teller? Because that straight up is what happens. Their influence on these reverberated or continued throughout, right up to the Civil War and beyond. Georgie, how do you do this? It's so good. In the years leading up to the eventual nullification crisis, this is something that you will learn about in the future, the resolutions divided Jeffersonian Democrats. Jeffersonian Democrats would be Democratic Republicans, with states' rights proponents such as John C. Calhoun. Ooh, you're going to hear about his name again in the future. He comes back. Supporting the Principles of 98, and President Andrew Jackson opposed them. Andrew Jackson. You're going to hear about him in the future a lot. Years later, the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 led anti-slavery activists to quote the resolutions to support their calls on northern states to nullify what they considered unconstitutional enforcement of the law. This eventually is used by both sides of the eventual Civil War to argue for we should be able to nullify what we don't like. This is why today the Supreme Court's the only thing that can nullify laws. Hopefully you're enjoying this and hopefully you're learning.